Get ready for a good one. Heavy freight states. This is for carriers that are looking to find out where to find the best rates and loads. Now, if you know anything about transportation, number one should not be a surprise to you, and that's Texas. Some of the best things about Texas is that it's a very trucker-friendly state. I mean, they have wide highways, one of the biggest interstates in the world. They have three of the biggest ports in the United States as well, major ports. So there's definitely a lot of freight transporting out of there that if you're interested in making a lot of money, you would definitely look into a Texas lane and figuring out how to work out of, shippers and brokers out of that area. Now, everybody, depending on where you live, Texas might be a far ride for you, but number one on the list is definitely Texas. Number two should be of no surprise to you. That's California. Now, California is another state that's trucker friendly. California actually has the biggest port in the United States, coming in so much traffic and things that need to be moved out of that state. It's unbelievable. The state does have higher regulations than, let's say, most of the East Coast states, but they compensate in better rates. One of the downside also is that there is higher gas or fuel prices, over there on that side of the coast. So that's something you might want to look at also when you're calculating your cost per mile. Number three on this list, Illinois, and boy oh boy do I love Chicago. Now let me tell you something about the state of Illinois. I'm based out of Pennsylvania, so I love the Chicago lane. I love driving over that way. It's easy. It's an easy drive. It's good for carriers to find loads out in Illinois. Now I must say, if you do go to Chicago, certain areas, you should be careful where you're stationed by, or certain parts of the city could get a little tight as well, so you got to be careful where you're going. But for the most part, I love Illinois. It's a great state. There's definitely a lot of freight there. You should definitely look into that lane. Standing tall on a strong number 4 spot is Georgia. So, if you're paying attention to the video so far, it's right in front of you on the screen. I know you noticed that Georgia is actually second with the lowest spot rate at 221. That doesn't mean that this is not a great state to find loads at. There's plenty of work to go around in Georgia. There's a lot of freight to be dispersed from Georgia. So I would recommend that you would look into Georgia to find you some freight. And the last spot goes to Ohio for our 1 to 5 list. Like the saying in their state logo says, find it here. Ohio is definitely a great place for you to find some loads. I mean, they have the second best average spot rate on this list right now, which is just a top 5 list. There will be a part 2 to this video coming out, which would have 6 to 10 lists, and that's just to give people more options with other different cities that are heavy in freight as well. Just depending on, maybe you might not be geographically located close enough to try to really operate around these states, but I pretty much gave a great list as far as where to find your loads, what states, depending on what you're doing, if you're doing regional, over the road. But I mean, with the states I've covered, pretty much there shouldn't be any reason why you shouldn't find any good freight in these states. Some of the best states around, in order for you to try to get some freight. Also, if you notice, my Instagram is Kingpin Transportation. DM me if